Good morning, Bob here. Going to be gluing in the kerfed liners today, kerfed linings. And yesterday I bent my liners on the hot pipe back here and got that out of the way so that this morning I could glue it. And I'll just give you a quick demonstration of what I do. I do fit the liner tight up against the foot here, and it's one piece, it's all bent, and I have a very slight gap at the other end, okay? I like it to be just a little loose. I would say it's a 32nd of an inch right here, gap. I'm going to glue the liners a little bit higher than the actual side, probably between a 64th and a 32nd of an inch. I just do it by feel. I'm going to use original Titebond glue because it gives me plenty of time to work and it works fantastic. And that is if you can open it up, because most of the time, no matter how much I clean around the nozzle, I always have to pry it open with a screwdriver. But in any event, I got it now. I used to transfer it into small little bottles, sort of like RV modelers bottles, you know, that they would put fuel in their little RV, airplane, whatever. Not RV, RC, radio controlled is what I meant. I have an RV and I just got back from RVing. So anyway, what I use is that I have a tub of water, hot water, with a few little rags here, and I wring them out. I've got a glue brush. And I take each one of these little rags, just a little square, used to be a face cloth. I fold it into four, and I have either 3 or 4 of these handy, ready to wipe away glue or clean up. So I got those, okay? Normally I have 4, and you don't really need to know this, but there you have it. Okay, we got the guitar here. I've masked off where the bottom of the liner is, and that's just to keep the guitar a little bit cleaner during gluing, okay? I use these, these pinch clamps, these kind of smaller pinch clamps, not the giant ones, or not the big ones. There's like 3 sizes of these. They also make these little baby ones, which I do use from time to time, but not on clamping the lining. So you see those little guys compared to this. And then you have the larger size, of course, which I don't have right here in front of me. And I also use little clamps, little C-clamps, at the waist, okay? So there's that as well. Now, Martin guitars and some other guitar makers use regular clothespins. I put rubber bands around them. I just don't think they really give enough clamping pressure. So I axed that way of doing it years ago. So here we have the liner. It's one piece. It's curved. And after I bent it, I sanded the glue side, sanded it with 150, made sure that this is all sanded as well. The tape is here just to keep any drips. When I start to see the glue is going to drip. When I start to see it drip, I clean it up like immediately. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush on glue on the rib. I go to about right here. I'll start here and brush it on the rib to about here. And then I'll brush a little bit less. I will put some on the back side of the liner, but I won't put a ton because, you know, there's going to be some here on the rib and some on the liner, okay? I like to wet my brush. I used to have some really nice glue brushes, but one of them got lost years ago and the other one I wore out. So now I buy these dispensable ones. I dip it in the water tub just to wet the bristles and make the flow a little bit easier, okay? So I'm going to get right into this, and don't think there's anything really that important. It's just put it on, clean up the excess glue. Now I will just squeeze this right on the side here, just a little bit. And the secret is to get it before it starts dripping too much. And then I'll also put it on the brush. And up against the block, I'll put a little glue. I don't care if it gets on the tape, because the tape's going to be coming off. And the great thing about Titebond, I use one Titebond original. There's no reason to use 2 or 3 here. So I just brush it on. You don't need a ton of it. Matter of fact, you really don't. When I started when I started using the curved bindings, I would only put it on the side here. I wouldn't put it on the liner as well. But then I started to put a little bit more glue on. I like to go to about here, and then I kind of stop. I'll do that later. Okay. Now I'll put some on the liner as well. Just a little bit, not much. I try to do it without breaking the liner because the liners can break very easily. There is the curved part, but then there is the part that's left over that you see when you look into the guitar. I don't put tons on here. Doesn't take a lot of glue. But I wet the curves. It's handy to have these wet rags to wipe my fingers off. I always keep one hand free of glue. I got that from photography when we used to develop prints in the trays. You could get one hand in the chemicals, but the other hand was always clean and dry. Okay, so I've got this coated, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the end here. And that's fine. Brush goes in the water, okay? And I will clean the tip of the glue bottle. And that's it. Then I just put it in. And of course, I keep it a little bit above, but of course it wants to slide because it's glue. Get it up nice and tight to the And if you could see this, you would see that the kerfing is a little bit above the side. Okay. And like I said, the beauty of Titebond is you have a lot of work time. And I forgot one little thing here. A little chisel here that I clean up some of this glue squeeze out with. Little wooden chisel. Okay. And I don't worry about anything that squeezes out on the bottom. I don't worry about that yet. I do keep an eye on making sure I stay above. Making sure the kerfing is above the edge of the side. I used to have more hand strength, but now that I'm getting old and my thumbs are kind of worn out, got the wet rag, and I will get one of my little chisels, get some of that squeeze out up here. It's going to get, planed and sanded later, so I don't worry too much about the squeeze out on the top, but I do like to get some of it off. It's interesting as you go through the clamps, even though they're all the same type of clamp, some are harder to squeeze than others. Okay. This is where I'll put a little C-clamp, and I usually put a little piece of wood. See what I have here. Just a little something to protect the side. There's the C-clamp. Everything's still very wet. Nothing's drying out yet. Okay. Now I'll take my brush out of the water, clean the glue off, and I will continue to put some glue on here. You can just work it right in behind. I put it right on the brush. Then go to the sides. Doesn't have to be pretty. It's just all you're doing is painting it on. But at this point I will put it all the way to the end. And I notice the brush is a little on the wet side. So I'll take a paper towel and just squeeze some of that moisture out. Back to the glue. And there goes the watery glue dripping. It's fine. You don't want the glue super, you want to thin it just a hair is a really good thing. You want it to flow here a bit. Okay. So now I'm working it around. And now I'm going to put some on the kerfing. Now at the same time I'm doing this, I'm also monitoring how much dripping is going on. I just got some glue on my chin. And I got a little bit here. And I noticed a drop on my workbench. Shame on me. Okay. This isn't brain surgery. This is pretty easy to do. But I just put it on. Not, I don't flood it on. It doesn't need tons of glue. Just a little more. On the wood here. Okay. Clean the tip. If it was hide glue, I would have to work much faster if it were hot hide glue. I'll put a little bit on the end here, although it isn't touching. Oh. Slide it in. Clean it off a little bit. And we got a nice drip there, you see here. And that's what the wet rag is for. Another thing I use, which is a great thing, I always have a hair dryer nearby. And I do use it. Okay, so back to clamping. What I love about the spring clamps is they really put plenty of pressure. And if I get some glue on my fingers, I have a nice wet rag here. I don't use paper towels, I use wet rags. And I got some glue squeezed out up here. I'll take my little chiseled piece of Brazilian rosewood scrap. I can go right underneath these clamps and get some of that glue squeezed out off. Okay, it's fine. We'll keep going. And once again, get the chiseler out. It's just a piece of off-cut Brazilian rosewood. or Indian. I think this is Brazilian. And I just sand it down on my benchtop disc sander. I put an angle to it, and I just have a little point. I also have ones that are flat, which I can use, which I'll be using to clean up the glue that has, dripped down the side. Okay. And we're getting toward the end here. And I'm about no more than a 30-second above the side. Once again, the beauty of Type Bond, you do not have to rush. I can get 2 more in here. So I'm actually right on the top of the side here with this little chiseled wooden chisel thing here. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just try to get some of that off. Okay, and 2 more clamps. 1 and 2. Lots of squeeze out there. Okay. So it's on. Now comes the cleanup. I know this is boring to watch, but if you can get anything out of it, fine. Okay, so they're on. And now I'm going to clean up with these little chisels. So I'm going to go in and clean up the glue that's squeezed out. First thing I do is I just drag my chisel along. These are made out of rosewood. I also check where the clamps are located on the kerfing. I sort of double check them and make sure they're in the right place. Got a drip here, no big deal. Just doing the first cleanup. And I like a different, I think I'll like this one better. And almost done. The next thing I'll do is wipe it with a clean rag. And then I'll flip the form over so that the glue that's in between the little webs from the saw cuts. Okay. So that's fine for the moment. Clean my brush here. Okay. Now take my rag that I just used with all the glue on it. It's in the water right now, nice hot water. I'm wringing it out. I have another one that I used. I will get it wet and wring it out, okay? So now I'll take one of those rags, fold it into my little quadrants, and I will start to clean with that. You don't realize how much you use two eyes when you have them. You don't appreciate your eyesight. Sometimes you take it for granted. And then when you have an eye problem, which I just did about last year, I think it was May, we were out hiking the Grand Canyon and doing some practice runs, or not runs, but walks, hikes on Bright Angel Trail, trying to get ourselves in shape for the big 25-miler, which we were hoping to do this year or next year. Anyway, we did that, and we went to Arches and had a great time. Teresa and I hopped in the Winnebago. One morning I said, hey, you want to go out west? She said, yes. So it was about a day or two later, we just packed up the Winnebago Travato, which is a Class B RV, and off we went. We had no itinerary at all. We just knew we wanted to go to Moab, we wanted to go to the Grand Canyon, and if there was time, we wanted to go to Durango, Colorado, and do the train ride from Durango to Silverton, which we really love to do. We've done it before. So anyway, we're finally done with our trip, and I looked at Teresa. I said, "Do you want to go to Monument Valley? Do you want to stay any longer?" And I was feeling the need to get back to work and everything else. So I said, "Look, let's just get out of here. I'm tired." So we got in the van. We stayed overnight at a Toot and Totem gas station. And then the next morning we left. And that's when I had the event in my right eye. I thought it was a corneal abrasion. That's what it felt like. It was brutal. And what it was I have this dystrophy called epithelial basement membrane dystrophy. It's a rippling of the cornea. And unfortunately, it's in my bloodline, I guess. So anyway, I went to a bunch of different doctors. The first guy I went to, he did a little surgical procedure, and it really didn't work. Matter of fact, he may be responsible for the scar on my cornea, but I don't know for sure, so I don't blame him. But he did leave me stranded. He sent me away with, at first he told me he was gonna, cure my problem. And then when he didn't, he told me I might never see 20/20 again out of my right eye, and go get some new eyeglasses, and you might never see 20/20 again. And by the way, you don't need to come and see me again. So he basically just, left me out in the water without a life jacket. And I won't mention his name right now because I'll wait until everything is figured out. But trying to get an appointment with some specialists is difficult. I had another doctor who I went to, is a gal. She was a Harvard grad, Harvard Medical. And she was very nice, but she wanted to do cataract surgery on me. And my cataracts are only about 20%. It's really negligible. And that wasn't going to really fix my problem, so I think. And, okay, so you see now I've got this all cleaned out. So anyway, I made an appointment with a doctor at the Bascom Palmer Eye Clinic, Eye Institute in Miami. Actually going to West Palm. Today is April 29th. My appointment, if you can believe this, isn't until August 21st. So I have to wait 4 more months. I've been sort of dealing with this thing for a year almost. And it's just getting, bothersome. I can see out of my right eye. I just can't see. Everything is hazy, very, very hazy. Like a cataract, only it's a scar. It's from a scar on my cornea. So I'm hoping that there's another guy in Jacksonville. His name is Dr. Gulani, and he's a specialist who he's like the miracle worker. So he tells us. He is a great promoter of himself. He wears very nice suits. I'm going to put this aside temporarily. He wears nice suits, and that scares me a little bit. And he's cash only. And just to see Dr. Gulani is like almost $1,000 just for a consult. He does not take insurance. So I'm trying to figure out, do I want to go see him, or do I want to wait for my appointment in August with Bascom Palmer, Dr. O'Brien, I think his name is. He's actually in West Palm. Now here's a point where my little leg is in the way. There's a clamp in the way. So I just take the clamp off, put the foot on. Okay. And if I can squeeze the clamp back in there, I will. If I can't, I'll use I can, and that's fine. And the same thing here. I'll have at least, I'm right in between clamps here. I'd say that these are both in the way. Now keep in mind, I clamped that about 10 minutes ago. The glue's probably already dried up. I'll take it off for a moment, put the foot on. These are the longer ones. These are the 9-inchers. Then I'll see if I can squeeze these back in there. And I'll put it in there. I remember I took that off and I didn't put it back. I'll put that back in there. Okay. And, ouch. It's my bad thumb. So anyway, I really want to get my eye fixed. It's difficult doing this work with one good eye. Now what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of looking around at where the clamps are lying. I try to get them where they need to be, but sometimes I move them a little bit. Okay, and at that point, I flip this whole thing over. Now, what this does, I'm going to turn it around. I don't know if you'll see anything, but I'd have to take the camera off of the tripod. But by turning it over, I'm going to remove these two little feet. These are the 6-inch ones. Just going to take off these two. So now I have a chance to do a better job cleaning up. And mainly because I can see it better. Okay. I'm just going to go around. Now gravity works. So as I do this, any of the glue that wanted to go downhill is now going in the other direction. And it just gives me an opportunity to clean up just a tiny bit better. Just cleaning. There's not much glue. It's just a question of having very neat craftsmanship versus just sort of factory average, you know. I'm not in any hurry. I never am in a hurry with, I don't screw around, but I am also never in a hurry because this is an enjoyable process to me. This is not, can Bob make 25 to 30 guitars a year? That's not who I am. Okay? I like to make a few good ones, really good ones. That's what I'm interested in. Especially now since it's, the last few years, it's been less of a business and more of a serious hobby. The business side of classical guitars, I loathe, absolutely loathe. But the making of the guitars is where it's at for me. So I'm basically finding some wooden chisels that sort of fit in the area where I'm trying to clean. Okay. And I got it nice and clean now. And at the end of this video, I will take the camera off the tripod for a second. I don't have time to do editing and all that. These are just quick little videos. Okay, so it's all cleaned up, beautiful now. I'm double checking where the clamps are. Do I like where they're sitting? And of course, the glue is already set. I'm going to pull this around again. Ugh. Hopefully, oh, yeah, you got to watch out because now you have everything's up the other way. You got to move stuff out of the way here. Let me go look through the camera real quick. Yeah, that's not bad. And can I see? Yes, you can definitely see the clamps and everything. Okay, so now the last step here is to remove the tape. So I'm just going to reach in here and start pulling off the blue tape. I used to use white masking tape, 3/4 inch. And sometimes I use thinner stuff underneath the blocks. So I'm just peeling the tape off right now. Very neat. And that one's right up against the block. Oop. 2 pieces. And last piece of tape. Okay, so there it is. There's the tape, right? Whatever. Roll it up into a ball. It's done its job. And once more, now that the tape is off, I'll just take a rag. And after I finish this one, I will not film the other side. There's no need to. It's just a repeat of this. But I'm going to do one more cleaning up against that kerfing. You can see the rosewood is getting wet. My rag isn't soaking wet. It's just liberally wet. You know, it's not dry, but it's not super wet. And this just cleans everything up really nice. Where I have to get into corners, I'll take one of these glue chisels and I'll just use the rag and go into the corner with it, like that. I like neatness. Do the same thing down here where it goes up against the foot. And underneath where I can't see, I just use my sense of touch here. I can see the C-clamp is right there. And that's it. Now the only last thing I do, that's fine. Now you can see it's all wet around here. That's what the blow dryer is for. Put it on sort of a medium hot. And I'm just going to dry off the rosewood. Moving it around. Okay, now I see a couple little areas on the rosewood. Looks to me like maybe a little bit of glue. I'll just wipe that. Same over here. Something. Some of this is epoxy filling some knots. So that's not what I'm seeing. Okay. And just back to the dryer. I'll be re-sanding these sides later on. This is medium hot. Now that it's sort of dry, I'll switch it to cool. I just did with my thumb. Okay, and the last thing I like to do is just check everything with a mirror, an inspection mirror. And that's it, I'm done, okay? So, I'll let that sit for about 15 minutes. I'll go take a break, maybe have a thing of yogurt. And then I will flip the form over, put the feet back on, flip it over, and I'll glue the second curved liner. And that's it. I'll leave these on overnight, although they don't have to be. You could leave them on just for an hour and you'd be fine, and then take off the clamps if you want. But I think we're going to head over to the Magic Kingdom today, just for a little stroll around. And been over there for 4 months, believe it or not. Been to Epcot several times, but been to the studio. Haven't been to my beloved Magic Kingdom, so I think I'll go over. And that's it. after these are tomorrow sometime, if I have the time. We're actually babysitting my daughter's dog tomorrow, Teddy, the golden doodle. So I'll be home. So I'll probably sand the liners and start fitting the back. Okay, sand them on the sides, chisel off the excess, get the angle right, sand the top, so on. Get it all prepared, and then start with the back. Start fitting the back. I have a little bit of rosewood to cut off of the back around the heel cap, but other than that, I'll fit the back, mark out the notches, cut the notches, start really getting the back all fit. And then we flip over and we start working on the top edge of the sides where that will get tapered, okay? And I'll go into all that later. And that's it. Well, this is the top edge right here, of course. And we will be fitting there's a shelf here, and it's 3.5 millimeters, probably about 3.3 deep. The top's going to fit right into that shelf, and the sides will get tapered from this point here all the way back to here. And the side is 3.1 or 2 millimeters thick at this end, and I only want to have the top tilt up, so it's going to be higher at this end. And then here it's going to be 0 on the 0 line. Top of the neck, right here, 0. And this will go up 1 to 1.5 millimeters, no more. Absolutely no more. Just a tiny little bit. So I have to do my calculation, and I'll plane the sides to make all that happen. After I get that done, I will plop the top on, cut the ends of the harmonic braces, set it down in, mark where the harmonic braces are, and then I'll glue in pieces of kerfed lining in between the harmonic bars, okay? And that's coming up. That'll be, today is Tuesday. That probably won't be until next week, because I think we're going to Disney on Thursday with my brother-in-law, and we got Teddy tomorrow, the dog. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's it. Bob signing out. Hope you enjoyed the little video here.